Have you ever wondered why celebrities seem to be suing newspapers and tabloids more than ever? Or why the line between public interest and private life is getting blurrier? The answer might lie in a single explosive court case that completely reshaped the landscape of high-profile lawsuits. This isn't just a story about a legal battle. It's the story of how our modern understanding of privacy, media, and fame was forged in the fire of the courtroom. Let's rewind to the early 1990s. The world was a different place. The internet was in its infancy. Social media didn't exist. And the primary source of celebrity news came from print magazines and television. In this era, a certain level of media intrusion was almost an accepted part of being famous. But one case would challenge that assumption head-on and send shockwaves through the legal and media worlds. Naomi Campbell, one of the original supermodels, was at the peak of her fame. Her face was everywhere, and so was her life, splashed across the pages of tabloids. But in 2001, the Daily Mirror, published by MGN, crossed a line she wasn't willing to ignore. They published a story detailing her attendance at Narcotics Anonymous meetings, complete with a covertly taken photograph of her leaving a meeting venue. The article itself was framed as a story of recovery, even congratulating her on facing her addiction. But for Campbell, the method was a profound violation. She had publicly denied having a drug problem, and this story, she argued, wasn't just exposing a lie. It was exposing a deeply personal and vulnerable part of her life, her medical treatment, and her journey to recovery. So, she sued. Initially, the High Court sided with Campbell. The judge ruled that the publication of her therapy details was a breach of confidence and an invasion of her privacy. The court acknowledged that while there might be a public interest in correcting her previous false statements about drug use, the specific details of her treatment at Narcotics Anonymous were private and confidential. The photograph in particular was seen as a major intrusion. She was awarded damages, and it seemed like a victory for privacy rights. But the fight was far from over. MGN, the publisher, appealed the decision. And in a surprising turn, the Court of Appeal overturned the initial ruling. They argued that, because Campbell had previously presented a false image to the public by denying drug use, the media had a right to set the record straight. They reasoned that her right to privacy was outweighed by the publisher's right to freedom of expression and the public's interest in the truth. This decision was a huge blow to Campbell and a major win for the press. It seemed to reinforce the idea that if you're a public figure, your private life is fair game, especially if you haven't been entirely truthful. This is where things get truly historic. Unwilling to accept defeat, Naomi Campbell took her case to the highest court in the United Kingdom, the House of Lords, which was then the equivalent of the Supreme Court. This was no longer just about a supermodel versus a newspaper. This was a battle over fundamental legal principles. The central question was this: where do we draw the line between a celebrity's right to privacy and the media's freedom of speech? But the Campbell case forced a direct and intense revaluation. There's a subtle but crucial difference. They also had to analyze the intrusive nature of the photograph. Was it necessary to show her leaving a meeting to tell the story? They agreed that while the Mirror was justified in reporting that Campbell was a drug addict and was seeking treatment to correct her public denials, they went too far. The publication of the specific details of her therapy at Narcotics Anonymous, and crucially, the secretly taken photograph, was deemed a severe breach of privacy. The Lords highlighted the confidential nature of medical treatment and therapy. This judgment was monumental. It effectively created a new torture civil wrong of misuse of private information. Second, it empowered public figures to fight back. The case provided a clear legal framework for celebrities, politicians, and other high-profile individuals to protect sensitive areas of their lives. The legal ground had shifted beneath the media's feet. Third, it had a chilling effect on paparazzi and intrusive photography. Of course, the debate is far from settled. Critics of the ruling argued that it has led to a form of privacy law by the back door, allowing the rich and famous to suppress legitimate reporting and manage their public image through lawsuits. On the other hand, supporters argue it was a necessary correction. In a world of 24/7 news cycles and digital media, where a private moment can be broadcast globally in seconds, the Campbell case provided a vital safeguard for personal dignity and mental well-being. It acknowledged that even people who live in the public eye have a right to a private space, a place to be vulnerable, to heal, and to be human, without a camera lens documenting their every move. The legacy of Campbell versus MGN is everywhere today. It's in the pixelated faces of celebrity children in magazines. It's in the cautious wording of articles about a public figure's health. It was the case that forced us to ask a difficult question. What price is fame, and should it ever cost someone their fundamental right to privacy? Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did the court get it right? See you next time.